I'm going to call this meeting of the Invasives Remediation Working Group to order at 4:03 on June 16th. Has everyone seen the minutes from the 26th, the 21st, and the 19th?
Now, I put those in there because I was very unclear as to whether any of those minutes have been done. So
I've got the 21st, April 21st.
That's all I think I have. And today I thought I saw May, and it wasn't. It was the April one. So if Patty comes on, she's on so many of these groups, I can't even remember which one she's committed to. I know she's doing minutes for other. She is. Patty's coming. Minutes for playground and minutes for Pear Tree, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to ask her.
Was March 26th when we met in Cherry Lawn with the landscapers?
I wasn't a part of that.
That's possible.
I can look on the
when
calendar.
we walked around with Charles.
And that could have been Amy's minutes. I know Amy did one.
I see. Mary-Liz, I thought you had taken minutes that day.
I did the minutes. Well, you saw
for the 21st.
But Patty, what was the one that you did? Like you had said to me, I'm finishing up multiple minutes for different groups, and I'm going to send them to you, Pam, to go over them first. But I don't know. I don't recall getting those.
That was for a different working group.
Okay.
I think that was for a different working group because we were doing multiple ones. You are doing a lot, and I appreciate all your hard work.
But which ones do you remember? Was that playground, maybe?
Well, playground, I had already submitted things. Yeah. As well. So
Okay.
what's the question? We're just trying to review minutes from the very first one where we walked?
Yes. So Saturday, March 26th was when we met in the park and met with Charles. So we never made minutes on that.
Because it was a walking tour, right? Did we have to have minutes on that? I don't think so.
I mean, it gets into whether it was a meeting or not a meeting or whether we were still forming. I mean,
right. I mean, that happened with another one of the working groups where they felt that it just wasn't a formal meeting yet. And so it was just kind of gathering the teams together. We were still trying to get additional people on the playground thing. So we had discussions about how we were going to kind of build the group out from there. And so Susan had made the call not to kind of have minutes about that one.
all right. I don't know that meeting was warned.
It wasn't. As I recall, it was
the walking one for the invasives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was. So I think we're
all
fine.
right. So if it wasn't warned, then I think we, at this point,
and it definitely was not posted or anything like that.
Yeah. All right. Hold on, I can tell you that too.
Okay. So do we have to officially approve what we have?
Yeah, we should.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to move the minutes.
And someone want a second?
Well, I'll second, but this is the minutes for April?
We're really talking about the 21st is the one we seem to all have, and it was posted and it was a formal meeting.
Right, because our May meeting was May 19th?
That very first one, yes, correct.
Okay. Yes, I second.
Okay, and I will vote in favor. Lori?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that moves us to the trees of heaven and what the status is with them.
I'm backing up. Backing up. March 26th was warned. It's on the town website.
Okay. That I do not have.
Well, I mean, I can whip out something. We can move to approve those minutes at our next meeting. And I can just whip out, X amount. You know what happened? I think, didn't I merge? I just got off of a prep meeting for a Great Island big meeting in a bit. So I don't have those minutes in front of me, but didn't I kind of reference the walk of the first walk in the minutes that I did?
Yes, you did.
Yes. So I feel like that I was trying to kind of cover that off. And I mentioned who was there, and Pam, that's when you said you actually weren't on that walk. So
It's the last paragraph in the minutes from April 21st, which references the May 19th meeting.
No, we're talking about the March meeting though, and I think it's at the beginning.
it's at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I mean, Patty, I think
Whatever
you're right.
you want me to do, Lori, whatever you want me to do, I can do a whole little separate short mini thing that just
I
takes that time.
would say, since there's quite a bit of detail here that covers a lot of it, we could probably just have minutes that just listed who was there, the best of our recollection.
Well, I know that was accurate of who was there.
Okay.
So,
And we met at, I think it was 8:30. Let me go back.
so what
No,
happens
it was
is
10. It was 10 a.m. We just list who was there, that we met with the guys from the turf company, walked the property, talked about, just
yeah.
4 sentences.
Okay, so I will actually just take out what,
No, I'd leave it.
okay, so you're fine with them, you're fine with them all being in one. Is that what you're saying? Okay, great.
I'm fine with the detail in the April, but I think to be safe, we should just have a separate document.
Okay,
Unless you guys, because it says present, so when it says present at the top of the April 21st, that's present for the April 21st meeting.
but right, then I reference who was on the walking thing. I'm happy to do that.
Well,
Not a big.
all right, let me think. Ms. Moore, Ms. Board, you know what then, Patty? You know what? If everybody's listed and it's what we talked about,
Mhm.
then let's just call this invasive working group minutes and just put both dates.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if that's allowed or not, but let's try. We just got to get this. I think it's more important to just get them done and posted.
Oh, I thought okay, got it. Yep,
All right.
agreed. So
Okay.
I mean, we just want to make sure that, because the town clerk, I've seen some email traffic lately where the town clerk is going back to different groups and saying, hey, you had this meeting and this meeting and we never got your minutes. So
All right.
she does check.
Right.
So,
Well, and then these were posted. The minutes I did were posted before our last time that we have that. So I thought they might have already been up, but
these April 21st ones.
yeah, well, I thought they were already posted.
Oh.
Because we had a May meeting and now we're having a June meeting. And
Right,
didn't we?
posted.
We
But
were
the May-
voted. Lori, we voted on these minutes in the May meeting, didn't we?
Okay. Well, I missed the May meeting because I was at a funeral. So,
Yeah.
But remind me, we didn't have May meeting minutes, right? I don't recall that.
Okay, so we'll go back and double check that. And you know what, Lori, I'll do is I'll just do like a quickie sheet for March to show it was a walking tour with those same people that are listed in the review from the April 21st meeting. I know what you want me to do. We'll just add that on and all good. Okay?
Yep. And I'm looking, and you're right, these April 21st are posted. So but are they posted as draft or are they posted as approved?
We voted on it.
You did. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry
So,
for the confusion. I just want to get us up to, I want to keep us legal here.
okay.
And then, so the May minutes we have or we don't have?
I don't think we have, but Patty will have to check that out.
We'll get them. We can't vote on them right now, so
All right.
Okay.
we'll talk to
So
the next meeting.
We will table the May 19th minutes. Okay.
Okay. And then so,
So
for
can I ask,
clarity,
are those May 19, I'm getting off of like 6 meetings today. The May 19th meeting, is that when we walked the park again and Susan joined us? Or was that when, because I think that was,
That's when we talked about the 35 trees of heaven in all the parks.
That's when Sandy and Mike were on.
Yeah, and the majority of the trees are in
Okay.
Weed Beach.
yes,
and that was
Sandy and
presumably recorded. It was at
Sandy-
like it was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, I remember the day very clearly because I was tied up with this other thing and I couldn't make it.
No, and Susan Daly ran the meeting as she pitched in for that.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Those
Yeah.
are in my folder. I will whip them out tomorrow morning after our I have two Great Island things tonight, and then after that, I promise you, I will send them. And if you guys can all review them, I guess we can't approve them until later. Is that true, or can we ever just approve them?
No, we have to read them. We have to read them.
No, if I send them, can you say, does it have to be a meeting to approve it?
I thought so.
Okay. All right,
All right.
It's not a problem to be able to approve them in a later meeting.
Right, but we can in the meanwhile
we can
post
put
them as
them up as
draft.
draft. Yeah,
Sure.
put them up as draft. Okay, got it. Put them up as draft. I'll send them to you guys anyways for
All
you,
right.
for your review. If you see anything, we'll basically be doing any editing on that when you guys send me back your comments
Exactly.
tomorrow. Put it up as draft, and then we just formally vote it at the next one.
Okay, good.
Sounds like a
Okay.
plan.
So we're moving on to a discussion of the trees of heaven and possible removal dates.
Okay, so I spoke with Sandy today and got a realistic response based on the lack of staff he has right now, and of course, the fact that it's a very busy season. So he said that realistically, they would not be able to get to starting to remove the ones that they can mid to late August.
And is it your plan to have your staff remove all of them as opposed to trying
Some of
to?
them.
They will
higher
start with the
some.
ones that are accessible to them, right? So as long as they can get to them, and they're easy to, and there's not, they don't need huge, heavy equipment, then they can get, whatever they can get to, they'll get to. And I can't tell you it's going to be a fast process, but I can tell you that they're a lot slower at that time. And so this will be a great end of summer, fall project for them. But of course, once fall and the leaves start falling, then they get very busy again. So we'll just have to be patient. I think it's just exciting that they're able to start doing it.
And where would they start? How would they work their way around to the
I'll get a
different
plan for them. I'll get a plan from them.
Okay.
But I would imagine that if they could take the one down in Cherry Lawn that you've identified, and maybe they can start there just to kind of check that off their list in the park, and then get going on Weed Beach.
Okay.
Okay, and timing wise, Laura, that's, another 6-8, that's neither here nor there.
I think it's immaterial. I think the important thing is that they're removed. And if that works best for the crew, then that's what we do.
That'd be it.
Okay.
Because it's more important that the trees are just gone.
Yeah, and Laura, about the stumping, I have it in my head that somebody said that it's really important that the stumps are also removed, otherwise the trees just grow back. And then I thought I remembered somebody else saying that doesn't really matter. What's your professional view on that?
I think if the stumps can be removed and the roots, it's better for us. Because yes, these trees have been dropping seed. You're going to have babies. You're going to have to look for babies. Nothing that we do, just so you know, we are never going to be done. I know we like to think that This is
You're
not
never
like
a ray of sunshine, Laura.
this is where when I said we're going into battle, this is battle.
Okay.
But it'll look good for a while, and we just have to be vigilant. But now we know what we're looking for.
Mhm.
Right.
Can
Right.
I ask the seating pattern? Because you guys talked about that a lot, several people. So their seating pattern, is there an optimal time to cut? You know, prior to the seating, you were talking about that when we were walking around looking at garlic mustard and all that,
You
right?
know, with the trees, they've been dropping seed. That tree in Cherry Lawn has been there for a long time. It has been spreading seed a long time. So
let's just eradicate it and then go and keep working on it.
this is just
Okay.
hit what you can, remove what you can, and move on to the next thing. It's not so much science really. It's
Okay.
more manpower and availability. When can we do it? And let's just go do it.
And do we have the money?
And do we
Well,
have the money?
if Pam's staff does it,
Yeah, you save the money for the big projects.
Yeah.
And the little stuff that we can do, you know, like Susan and I had clippers and lobbers, and we were down at the pond, and we just pulled a bunch of stuff and cleared a little viewing path at the pond, and it took less than an hour.
Okay.
Now, is that going to grow back? Oh yeah, it's going to grow back. It looks good right now.
Yeah, and you can see it. Thank you. So the other thing of reference is if we do it in August, that is when, Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you had told us we are going to be doing the tennis courts at that time also, right? So that's not a bad time. A lot of people do go on vacation in August, those first week or two, you know, because they have to be back for kids' sports, you know, sports. If they're high school kids, they got to be back that third week and stuff. So that could be great. That could be people, you know, are like, oh, I'm going to stay out of Cherry Lawn this week because there's a lot going on. They can go to another park, you know, we can even put up signs or something. Do we need to think at all about trucks coming in a certain route? That's all I'm thinking about, because that's going to be a truck that will come down the hill around the big tree in the tennis court and take a left to cut over and come around the playground below are they not even coming in with the truck and they're just coming in with climbing it up and cutting? I don't know. Pam, do you know?
It all depends on the tree and how big it is and how wide it is, and you know whether they can get to it easily. So they're gonna have to.
This one is up front, right, Laura? I mean, you know, you guys know
It's up front, and it's not as wide as like an old oak or anything.
No.
Yeah, they can probably. I don't know that they need a huge trunk. You know, a lot of times,
I think to be very careful with the guys' schedules, listen, I think we need to put some a little direction on them to have some time. They've tagged them. Now they need to go and say realistically, which ones should we start with, regardless of what we think. What can they tackle first? And you know, what is realistic in August, and we can report back on it. We can say, okay, they realistically think that they could take down these 4 trees in Weed Beach. Their stumps are too large. We might have to go out and get different equipment for that or hire. I don't know. So we're gonna have to ask them that. And you know, I think that's how we have to approach it.
when do you think you could ask Sandy realistically to put that plan together? Does he need 2 weeks or?
I think that between him and Mike, that they can come up by the time we have a next meeting, that they can have some direction.
Do we have a next meeting scheduled?
Yes, we have a full year scheduled.
Okay.
can I make a recommendation for us to think about? That we don't do weed until after Labor Day. Just because the people are down there, it's August, the same people some people are taking a week off to go on vacation somewhere. Other people are just taking a stay vacation, right? So it's kind of a bummer if you're sitting in your lawn chair, Lori, right? And all of a sudden you hear, I'm gonna do that. So,
But I think they're mindful of that, Patty. I'm sorry to interrupt, but they're
Yeah.
mindful of that. And they would do most of their work early morning.
oh,
When
okay,
nobody's
great.
around. And, it's really going to be mostly in the meadow area is really where a lot of those were tagged.
Because there's some right up, I guess the reason I was saying that is there's some right up by the kayaks. When you walk up,
Right.
there were 3
Yes.
tags there. Let's wait on those so we don't have people take pictures of us. You're taking down our trees, till we have
Right.
less people. So if they can do the back by the meadow, sure.
Mhm. But
Yeah.
let them come up with a plan, then we can dissect it, and then we can direct them from there if we have any concerns.
Okay, and then if you'll just keep in mind, Pam, that you may end up having, one truck that's taking down a tree and then the other trucks that are working on the redoing the tennis courts. So if there needs to be any kind of coordination on how they get them in and they're not cutting each other off.
Right. It's not necessary they do it at the same time.
Right.
Plenty of trees to go around.
Yeah. All right, can we move on to mapping of the invasive update and scheduling for the invasive removal?
So, Lori, she lives across from you. Is her Golden?
Joanne
She's
Gabriel. Yep.
Gabriel. I'm sorry. She's great. She had agreed to help with mapping. Like,
Okay.
I'm not. She knows. You guys, she and Laura know. But Joanne. And so at that last walking tour where we all kind of walked around with Susan, and when Susan was joining us, and you guys were pulling some stuff and clipping, I took photographs that I will send her tomorrow. I'll send those, and the mapping, as I understand it, is going to be, I took photos all the way along. Remember, Laura? We started up by the baseball, by the buddy bench, as we call it. And we started there, and then we took photos kind of all the way down. And then we also kind of wrote notes a little bit about what they were. And so that focus of the mapping was really just behind the gardens.
Yeah, because ideally, what we need to end up with is, I'm calling it a book, but it would be like an electronic document, but I'll call it a book for lack of a better words. It'd be a nice idea to have a picture book with a picture of sort of every key invasive and a brief description, but then a park by park inventory and sort of a mapping. So, okay, Cherry Lawn, that will be a big chapter.
Yeah.
Other parks, it will be not so much. We might conclude that this is something we're not even going to tackle in the nature preserves. I don't have a view on that. We need our professionals, but it would really be kind of park by park sizing the issue, and then sort of prioritizing in terms of sort of danger, what's most important for us to get to. I know, Laura, in the past you've talked about, well, certain things really should be done in February, and you'd kind of want to have it cross-referenced to months, and then figure out what are the resources that we need to do that. Is this something volunteers can do? Is this something staff can do? This is something we need to hire. Because when I raised this with the Board of Finance, they were receptive, but what they correctly said is you really need to come back with a multi-year plan and know what your financial request is going to be. So to do that, we need to know the size of the issue, and kind of so we can think about how much money are we going to need each year. We have some money for this year, but if we know Cherry Lawn, it's 5 years to do blah 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 blah, we need to start sizing and documenting. So it just seems to me that comes with the sort of starting with the park by park, mapping of, is it bigger than a bread box or not? Like I'm just, for instance, pear tree. I don't know. you guys may not, I don't know if there's invasives at Pear Tree or not. I would imagine if there are, they're probably over in the picnic area, but we should know. And then that might be something and say, gee, you know, it's such a small area. We can do this with some volunteers, knock it off and say, you know, done. You know, little freight park. I don't know. There's probably nothing there. Think about the nature preserves and whatever, you know, again, Houlihan, is there an issue there? I just don't know. We've kind of talked mostly about cherry lawn appropriately. You know, weed, we know we have trees of heaven. The very back area of weed is a hot mess, Laura. I'd love to walk that with you and Joanne, because it's been bugging me for 25 years how bad that is back there. But start knowing really where we're going to be looking for resources. So that's kind of the vision, and we're just going to have to chip away at it kind of park by park by park, ideally, and then maybe set a, you know, goal that once every, I'm making this up, I don't want to make anybody pale, but say, you know, we want to inventory a park a month or a park every 2 months. I mean, I don't know. And then you get into timing. Well, you might not be able to do it in the winter because you can't see it. So, but it just, I think that's what we need to think about is how are we going to create our plan of work for this? Because as Laura said, it's a war. So we got to map out what our battles are going to be. And meanwhile, people have gone in, we're doing the quick hits. That's great. But longer term, I think we need a roadmap.
So with the mapping, are you looking for numbers, like how many of each invasive? Because that's an impossible task.
I would think maybe do we come up with a scale? I'm going off the top of my head here. You know, like on a 1 to 5, how bad is it, or how much square footage? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways to get around, you know, get our arms around.
Right. I think if you could measure the area, say the area behind the community gardens, and just have a list of the types of invasives that we've identified there.
Uh-huh.
And then move on to, you know, we said the area with all of the porcelain berry down by the pond, and that was, what did we said that was like section A or section 1, and say, you know, that section. Those sections we were sort of thinking that was where the professional landscapers were going to tackle for us,
Right.
because they had the equipment. They knew what they were doing, and once the money's been released, we can say, go with God and cut vines for us. Behind the community gardens, to me, that is the area where if we can identify a day where we could rally some volunteers, we could pretty much knock that off pretty easily. And I would not, let me tell you, as God is my witness, be afraid that there is something precious growing in there, and God forbid somebody should pull it. There's nothing really precious going there. If something gets pulled, it'll come back next year. That's the nice thing about plants. You really can't, some stuff, the stuff you really want will come back. It will.
And we're
So
not,
then we know it's 300 feet, 500 feet, whatever it is. There's these 6 species, and these are the resources we think we need, you know, financial and human resources we need to tackle this. And then you said, what's an ideal time frame? Yeah. So that's sort of what I was thinking. So that, because as you know, when we ask for money, we have to be able to support it with more than, well, we know it's a mess. We have to just say, okay, this is how we're prioritizing, tackling, why it's important, all of that stuff. I mean, you all know we're going to be asked those questions and have to be able to defend it.
yes.
Well, I think we should come up with a reasonable number of parks that we can do this on, because I don't see how we can do all of them for next year, for instance, before the budget process starts and we want to have something that we can present. I think if we focused on maybe cherry lawn and weed or something, and tried to put something together for those two, that would be somewhat realistic.
The
Somewhat.
$8,000, the $8,000 that's been allocated is just for cherry lawn, correct?
Right.
Well, I think we made it.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about that then. Laura, do you just on the different part? I mean, like something like pear tree. Do you have any view on that, or?
I have never noticed anything at Pear Tree that is so shocking, like the porcelain berry we have at Cherry Lawn. I did notice I was at Weed Beach this week. I'm the caretaker of the little free library that's been put up there.
You are.
Yes, for Book Aid. So I keep going over
Thank
there
you.
and filling it
I
up
put
with
some books in. I put some books in.
you. People are using it. I can tell. I go there, and the books I brought in have been used. So I'm thrilled. But when I was there, I noticed a lot of mugwort in the front where you had planted a lot of the beach grasses.
Tons.
Yes.
I try to pull one out every time I walk by after yoga. I'm like, okay, I'll take one.
Good
Okay, so
compliment.
or maybe, you know what, I'll connect with Joanne over the next couple days, and maybe she and I can walk or ride bikes or something over to Pear Tree and have her take a look at it. And then, Laura, what's your view on the nature preserves? I would probably put Diller Park in that category as well, loosely. You guys agree? Because it's woodsy. Do we just set those aside for now and just say?
Yeah.
Listen to Kate Bush. I'm just going to recap from the budget meeting. You know, when she cut it from 40 down to 8, she said, this is a new thing. And I think that as a result, you know, you're going to have to demonstrate this need, but basically we'll give you $8,000. And I recommend you that you focus on like 2 parks. And so, I mean, I feel like you guys are saying Cherry Lawn and Weed Beach, but you guys decide whatever.
But I mean, not even just to say we want to do them, but to say we're going to put a complete document together that ultimately addresses each property in terms of even prioritizing that. I guess my question to Laura is invasive something we even need to be worrying about in the nature preserves?
Oh, they're everywhere. But
1 minute, Pam.
I think it's best to concentrate on the areas where our fellow citizens are going and enjoying, and we should hold off on worrying about what's happening in our wooded areas.
Okay. I guess what I'm thinking about vines that could kill trees that impact the tree canopy. That's why I'm asking and saying, don't we need to focus on it at some point in terms of, again, knowing what the issue is? I understand, Patty, that we're not going to get all the money, but at least at some point having the complete picture.
You know, being able to have in that document and say, and we know that this same situation exists in our wooded areas and it has been observed I think that just backs up the necessity for increasing the budget and increasing the focus on this, because we're trying to tackle it in the park, but we know it's happening in our nature preserves.
Okay.
And if we can demonstrate that we stopped a lot of the growth of these vines in the parks, it would justify additional monies in the future to tackle it in the woods.
Okay, great. Pam, can you put your hand up?
Yes, so I just wanted to clarify. We asked for 40. I believe we got 18, not 8.
See, I
9,000.
recollection. We asked for 40 for park beautification.
Yeah.
And that got cut to 18, what I thought was for plantings and prettying. I thought we got a separate $8,000 specific for invasive.
You're right. Yeah. So you just defined it. Yes, thank you.
In theory, could we take part of that 18 and for beautification and also put it towards more invasives, in theory, we could. That would be a commission discussion, but I know there's also been an interest in terms of planting, more, bushes, annuals. Cara mentioned she and Chris Taylor had some ideas how we could make pear tree look better this summer. I've not gotten any detail back from her on that. The money's not good for a few more weeks. So that will be a commission decision. But my understanding is we definitely had a lock on the 8 to get, what's their name? Is East Coast,
Yes.
the turf
Yes.
people going.
Stony
Pam,
Brook Turf.
really good. Yeah.
But after that, in theory, we have this other money, but we'd have to make a decision whether we wanted to use beautification money for invasives as opposed to, one could definitely argue that getting rid of these invasives is beautification. I don't have
for clarifying. You're
either way.
correct.
Okay, so that's the correct summary of what money we have?
Yes, and then of course, we have the 9,000, I believe it was for Highland.
Oh, well, I don't care about Highland. That's not in our purview.
That's an interesting point, but I think it was designated for Highland per
Right.
Kate Book, and so it has to go to Highland.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying Highland's not within the purview of this working group, so.
I hear you.
Right. The purview of our
We want all our parks and everything we've acquired, even though it should have been called parkland. We still want them to succeed, and look good. And
Oh, yeah.
the diapers that are on the trees are working, I think, Pam. Like I see the black things around the trees and the bushes at Highland, and I'm like, somebody asked me about that, right? Isn't that what the tree diapers were? Is that correct? I can't hear.
Moving.
Yes,
Yes.
and they're doing pretty well. They can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do
Oh, now we can't.
and they do better when it rains. It helps them saturate. No connecting going on. See if that helps.
Yeah.
Does that help?
You were fine. You were fine until you started moving. You've been
No?
fine the whole meeting.
Oh, okay.
And then you moved.
So you can hear me now?
Yep.
I have no idea.
Okay. But now, just so you know, your lips and your sound are totally out of sync. So it's a little weird.
Okay, going back to the money situation. We're definitely going to go ahead with Charles starting July 1 to go after Area A, correct?
Well, the money becomes available July 1.
Right.
We haven't talked about when that would start.
Pam, have you retained him or not yet?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just reached out to him because I don't know who else has been in touch with him because I didn't go to that meeting when he was around.
No one has been in touch with
You'd
him.
be the only person who would be in touch with him. We wouldn't be interacting with him.
Well, I didn't know what the interaction was other than you really liked him. So I have reached out to him and I just asked him what his availability is this summer with this invasive project.
Okay. Yeah, and we do understand because as I recall reviewing the bid, he broke it down into the 3 zones, which we asked him to do. But the question I remember having was that there was like a base price, but then there was a line for maintenance.
Correct.
And I didn't know what that meant, and was that maintenance once a year, once a month? So
Yes, you qualify,
because
yeah.
that immediately became more money than we even had available. So we do need to clarify that with him, what that maintenance, because it was, I think one of them, it was something like $1,300 or something. It was.
Yeah, it was around $1,250.
Okay, oh, good memory, Lori. So yeah, it was enough that I was like, where's that coming from and what's it for and how often? But
I know Amy asked me to look into it, I think back in, I don't know, May, but I just been swamped. So I just reached out to him now. I'm sure
Okay.
I'll get back to him. He's a really quick responder.
okay.
So I'm certain I'll hear from him tonight.
Okay, so that's, I think that was the question I had, was really, is when is he available? Because I think my sense of this group and the commission as a whole is we want to get going on that
Correct.
sooner rather than later. But it's really in terms of, do we have enough money given that maintenance piece and what?
I'd love to get those vines started. We're talking about really taking the vines out. Like if we're going in and we're kind of like, already bringing in trucks, for cherry lawn, and we're already kind of rolling over the ground and making a little bit of mess on different things. That'd be a great time to do it, right? The end of July, early August, if we can. But
Yep. Okay.
And the
My
cool thing will be, I was just going to say, and I'm thinking about how, remember how Amy Doring was concerned, like, should we be pulling everything out before they get big? Remember she asked that question like 2 meetings ago, and Laura, you said it really doesn't matter. So that was helpful for us. I do
Right.
think they'll get smaller. Maybe they're easier to pull out. Like, that's something to be said for in the fall with the volunteers, right?
Absolutely. My recollection with the conversation with him was that he wasn't going to need a lot of trucks.
That's what I remember.
Good.
Mary,
He's
do you feel
lassoing.
that way?
Lassoing.
That
Yeah.
it wasn't going to be big trucks coming in.
Well, especially since he can't spray, right? He's not doing anything spraying wise, right?
No.
It's
No,
cutting and clearing.
That's all habitat back there. We have to be aware that, birds and wildlife are living in that area. And I remember Joanne and I had a conversation about leaving a lot of the down trees, because that is habitat and that will break down. It's so we don't need to worry about hauling out all of that dead wood. It's really just eliminating the vines. And he would cut them at the ground, try to cut mid-level as best he can, and then leave the rest that are in the trees to fall out, because they won't be growing. So they will eventually just start to fall out of the tree canopy.
Yeah, I remember a little bit of a discussion also, Laura, about, do we have to pick and choose where we want the so-called nature, whatever you just called it, and should we be indeed clearing some of the big pieces of wood down there to make a visual and add additional space? And then you're also, remember, then we're taking pictures and showing Jim Phelan, look, this is what we did. You can see the before and after, see how much better it looks down by the pond. Please give us 20 more grand.
Right, yeah, that's.
We have to decide, what is the goal? Is the goal to create space for people, or is the goal to save the trees? And with that, keep the habitat for the creatures that live there. Are we trying to eliminate their habitat?
No, I'm just gonna say that I think there's a decent amount of habitat behind there, and we were just talking about some of the big logs that were in the front to clean it up. Not trying to go in way deep, because there's a lot of depth in there. So
I think we want to improve the visual appeal so that there's a notable before and after.
Don't you think removing the vines would be noticeable enough without disturbing?
I got to kind of agree with Lori on
maybe. I'm not sure, but my instinct, there's just such a mess back there.
I think you're talking about two different things. The visual appeal with Charles cutting and clearing was clearly the area around the pond. What Laura's talking about is the section behind the garden where the vines are going up the trees and where there are a few large trees that are down that you suggested the time we walked it, just leave it there. Correct?
No, we're
Correct.
talking about the same thing, but it's not behind the gardens. It's to the left
No.
of the. We're talking about section 1 to the left of the pond. So it's a lot of vines there, and then it's kind of 2 big trees that fell. So again, I think the discussion was, do we do it as a habitat? And I specifically remember, Laura, you and Joanne talking at length about habitat, because it gave me pause and made me think about it. But then I was also thinking, okay, but everybody else who, the people that might be giving us money might say, okay, but what about all that? We paid this money and you didn't even clear out all that. So was there a way to clear at least 2 of those big logs laying down, those big trees, but leave a lot of the habitat behind it? Because I know there's a lot behind it, because I'm there every day and I'm walking back those trails in behind there. So
I understand what you're saying, Patty,
Yeah.
but you're making it sound as if we're like landlords, and whoever's living in those areas now can just go and find another condo to live in the back. I think instead of being concerned that the Board of Finance may not think we made sufficient good use of the money, and perhaps what we could do is show them what got done and what we chose to keep and the reason we chose to keep it. I mean, this is bordering on the nature center. To turn around and evict possum and birds and whatever else is living back there, I just think that calls for more discussion, and we won't know how good it looks until we get rid of the vines. And we might be,
I agree.
we might all be in agreement that the vine improvement is so much that the logs that are there, I think a lot of them have sufficiently decomposed. And so therefore that is really habitat for insects.
Mhm.
And insects are good. It's good for the birds. It's good for all
Okay,
of the.
that's fair. That's all fair. That's why we got you, Laura.
Okay. Got to speak
No, I
up.
love learning. I love learning and hearing you. Good stuff.
Okay.
Possums eat ticks. You gotta love the possum.
So with the money that we have, we definitely are going to go ahead with Charles focusing on area A, correct?
Yes.
And then
I
the
think-
maintenance question remains to be answered.
Yes.
I'll clarify.
Okay,
Cool.
okay. So volunteers. It's a lot tougher to get volunteers in the summer. It's also a lot harder to dig up weeds in the summer, particularly July, August, when it gets so hot, you just can't move them.
I'm sorry, my computer had just gone flat out. So I apologize.
Oh, I just said about volunteers. It's hard to get volunteers in the summer. And also it's very hard to attack the weeds that could be handled by volunteers in the really hot summer. It's very difficult to get rid of them. So maybe this is something we should focus on in the early fall.
What do you, I mean, I don't know if any of you are going to think this is inappropriate, but I'm just going to put it out there. What do you think of a September 11th day of service and offering that up as an opportunity for people to come to the park and help us?
I am down at ground zero on September 11th, not pulling weeds. That's fine. But I hear what you're saying in terms of trying to do something positive and volunteer. I feel like it's a holy day. That's just the way I look at it. But we lost a lot of people, so that's why. I agree with Mary Louise that, whereas I don't have a Nantucket house, so I won't be hanging there in August, and I'd be happy to do some pulling. I would say I could get more volunteers in the fall if people have gone away. But again, at the same time, if we're doing some work on other stuff, if we're having all the workers down there, maybe we do try and start, or at least start one section there at Laura, where we mapped it out. We start right next to the buddy thing, and we start from the left there and start to go through. And as I said, just tell me what to say, and figure the rest out.
Mary Louise, do you think it's something that the gardeners would help with?
This is always a challenge to keep the gardens free of weeds in the summertime. Very difficult. It's tough to deal with the weeds in August. Very, very tough. I think that they'd be more likely to be of help in the fall than they would August.
I know one gardener I can get, Jeannie Foles.
Oh, yes?
In the gardens, right. I mean, we could do a whole theme around fall cleanup, right? So Laura, are any of these going to be flowering and berries, and we're going to be feeling bad pulling them out then, versus they're not doing anything in August and it's easier to yank out without any Catholic guilt about that?
Yes, you're going to have berries. And so you'll be removing the berries that the birds had probably been counting on because they remember where they are, and the deer and anything else that comes by and eats them.
So then this is part of the mapping, right? For strategy of when to pull, or?
No, because we have to go where we have the manpower, or it just won't get done, because there'll always be a reason why it's not optimal.
Yeah.
So if September is better to recruit volunteers, then we need to do it. February is hard because you can't see half the things, but that's a good time to, cut down trees if it's not icy, because it's February. But you got to go where you have the people.
Yeah.
That's why I thought if we knew that Earth Day, September 11th, I mean, if we have definite days where the focus is on nature or your community, it would be great to be able to schedule something.
Right.
The Founders Day. What day was Cherry Lawn established? Boom, let's make that a cleanup day, and just keep finding reasons why we could tie it in and say, come on out and help us clean up.
Right.
Right. We definitely did it, on Earth Day, like that's easy. I can definitely get people then, but that's not for a while. So yeah, that's why I was
thinking about the maintenance.
Back in school, fall time, or do something volunteer work with your kids, right? Get them back. Unless you, I would say we should also talk with Pollinator Pathways, because Deepika had said that they have volunteer resources and they'd be happy to send out an email and get people to come and volunteer now. So, hey, if we can start in August, or you guys are saying it's too hot in August. I mean,
August is awful.
I fell off the screen here. I mean, do you want to be starting in July? You're skipping August because it's too hot, and then focus on September? What do you all recommend?
I personally think July, August are tough in terms of weeding. September is better. Also, people are definitely going away either July, August. It's going to be tougher to get people. I think if we can focus on exactly the areas we want to focus on and have that ready to go, and we're in a better position to direct people to the areas we want them to focus on, that would be positive. We could certainly do that over the summer.
What's the date that Dorothy has you guys have to have everything cleaned out of the gardens? When is that usually, approximately?
Usually end of October.
Okay. So we can't, we want to do something way before that, but maybe, because you know how you guys did that, and then you had like a glass of wine and everybody sat around, I think, or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
right? Because it was the same day as the dedication.
Yes.
to the
correct.
basketball
Yeah,
court. So let's definitely tie that in with what y'all are doing, and then we can do the same thing for some volunteers. We'll be around the back. So I can talk to Dorothy and see kind of what date that is.
It
That's,
might,
that's
it might-
later in September. And that party was tied to Tom Dunn, his birthday. It wasn't so much a clean, a final day at the garden. It was really his birthday. He was 92 or something.
Okay. But
it
Um,
might,
I
it
tell you
might
what-
be helpful.
Yeah.
Might be helpful to know when Charles is coming out
yeah,
to do the vines and get that started whenever he, post July 1. And then maybe, while he's there, we can see how things look from that end. It may not be as daunting as we think once he gets done with the vines.
Yeah, so that would be a start anywhere after July 1st. And you're saying and I remember that, Laura, he didn't feel like he needed big equipment to go
Right.
in.
And he also wasn't comfortable about eliminating anything around the pond because of erosion other than the mugwort.
Right.
So we could, on our own, trim up the alder branches that are there and just sort of clip them back and make it neat. But he's not going to be digging anything out around the pond because that's a special expertise, and erosion would be a real difficult situation if that happened.
So I heard back from him already, and he will be ready after July 4th to get started. I did say that there was question in regards to his invoice on the maintenance fee and whether or not it was an annual. So I'll wait. I'm certain he'll get back to me pretty quick.
Yeah. And what is it?
It was a monthly. That's what he had said in the contract, right? Isn't that what you said, Lori? That's what I read.
Say that again, Patty?
I believe that it was some kind of maintenance. Was it, you were trying to confirm, was this a monthly, right? Remember that?
Right.
Is this a monthly or is this an annual? But even if it's an annual, how often will they come out? Like, does annual mean we're billing them or we're paying them annually? Or does it mean they're coming every single once a year to do the maintenance?
Right. And what exactly is the maintenance, I guess, is the next question.
yeah.
So Pam, you'll be able to just tighten that up with him, right?
Doing it right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. That's exciting now.
Check things off the list.
That's great. So July, we're going to start to see some invasive mitigation. That's a step forward.
Yep.
And part of our book, Lori, that you're describing, right, will not only have the photos, the before and afters, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of cherry lawn stuff. I hope that someone else will be focused on documenting Weed Beach, somebody who wants to own that's on this committee. But I've already documented a lot of stuff here at Cherry Lawn throughout the year, so we can actually see how much it's grown and stuff. But that's an example where we can start to even send updates to our Board of Selectmen and our Board of Finance, before and after pictures. Look what we've done, right? Your folks are hard at work.
Yep.
I need to interrupt for a second, only because I set up this meeting. I know I set it up for an hour, I believe. So I just want to make sure that we don't just drop. I don't see any signal, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I see it's after 5 o'clock.
The only thing I was going to say is, in addition to alerting the Board of Finance about before and after, it'd be great to get something out in social media and the newspaper to show people This is what porcelainberry looks like. This is before and after. Walk your North 40. Do you have this in your yard? Because you don't want this. And let's start drawing people in, making them look at their own yards and see what's there based on what we are eliminating from the park.
That's a great idea. And we can start with the town newsletter because we can
Right.
have Marley and we'll take pictures of those because, yeah, absolutely educate the people in their own homes too. Great idea.
Which one do you want to do first, Laura? The porcelainberry?
Well, I think if we can find a Japanese barberry in the park, only because there's been so much publicity about that harboring ticks, and that scientists have discovered that so many ticks live under this one shrub because of the little microclimate that it creates, and mice like to live there, that if people knew, yeah, mice living underneath this shrub and you got ticks here and all you have to do is dig it out,
Yeah.
I think everybody would go looking for that.
Could you get a picture? I mean, we just get a picture online, right?
Oh, you can get one online, absolutely. I mean, that I told my neighbor about it because he had one in his front yard and he didn't even know what it was. And that afternoon with his shovel, he dug it out and it was gone.
What's the name of it again?
Japanese barberry.
Arbory? Arbory? Okay.
Yeah, so if you just even Google, ticks, barberry, you'll
Are you saying Arbory with a B or Arbory with an A?
with a B.
Barbory?
I think berry, right? Barbery.
Yeah.
Like the barberry.
Berry? Barberry?
Yes.
Okay.
I kind of see the Mosher Manifesto column running in the Darien Patch and the Darien Times and the Stanford Advocate, right?
Oh my
They did that great profile on you with Lori's help, and so I'm seeing this as a daily column. That's what it looks like. I thought that
Yes.
is that.
Yes.
That's
And everybody has
I
it.
thought that was burning. What is burning bush like? I thought
Burning bush has the wings.
Oh.
So if you look at the stem and that's got wings on it, barberry's got thorns. And everybody has it in their yard because you don't have to do anything to it. You don't have to prune it. It
I feel
just,
like they were planted a long time ago. Like you see them at not older. You don't see them at the new homes, right? You see them at the older homes where they were just plopping them down with, these are the 3 things that we plant, and you see them all over.
Right.
yes,
Got it.
exactly.
All right.
It's kind of got maroon colored leaves.
Yeah.
Maroon and green. Yes.
That's
With
it.
the thorns all over the branches.
Look in
Exactly.
my backyard.
So you're saying just dig them up and get rid of them.
Those babies up because that is where the ticks love to live.
Okay, under the Laura Mosher Manifesto, I also think that this should be an interview with like Jim Cameron on Channel 79. Like he can do a piece on you with the interview. You can be showing photos. You can be telling these stories. Laura, you're so engaging.
Yeah.
And he runs those all the time. Like if you're sitting there waiting for the Board of Finance to get out of their executive session, like he runs it in between the meetings.
You want to be my agent on top of everything else that you do in town,
We're
right?
trying to make you famous, Laura. We're working on it.
Glass of beer, and we're good to go. No, this is good then. Like look how excited we are to know we're going to go out and get rid of something that's going to like give ticks to our kids or our dogs or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So it's inspiring and it makes you want to go out and do something right away. And then we'll be able, I know that we'll hear a comment back from somebody on the Board of Finance or selectmen where they'll say, wow, you know what? We saw that. We pulled that out of our thing. Yeah, I'll give you 10 grand more.
Laura, is there I know that there's been an app that you can get that identifies, flowers and bushes and things, but sometimes it's not free. Do you know of a free one that you can we can download?
Yeah, the one I know, I think it's like $10 a month or something.
I have pictured this. That's $30 a year. I think iNaturalist is free. The downside with apps, obviously, is they're not always right, and they don't always come up with an answer, but it's good to, I think it's this, let me verify.
Mhm.
So iNaturalist and picture this is what I like. That's from Go Botany.
Yeah, I had picture this too, but then it only was free for a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I did the same thing. Once I got the price, I'm like, yeah, no.
Right.
You gotta do it like the Netflix accounts, right? When you sign up for Netflix and then all your kids get on your thing, then all of a sudden you find out all their kids in their dorm are on your thing. We have to get on somebody else's and just start using their. All right, well, this is it. I think these are excellent ideas. We're talking about plans where we can just start to move forward, right? If we are getting our guy to come in second week or so of July, or sometimes post July 4th, that's great. Talking about the newsletter, I'm just recapping from the notes that I read, get in conjunction with Marley in the newsletter, right, Pam, and to showcase some of the things that we're working on, the before and afters. Like the before and after can be what was eradicated at Cherry Lawn with all the vines, right? And then promote that there's going to be in the fall, like every Saturday from 10 to 12, we're going to be pulling invasives at Cherry Lawn for the month of October or whatever. And then please come volunteer. All you need is your gloves and a clipper. Thing. Like, that's just really marketing.
Yeah.
And then my text email group.
Right.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like that idea of doing it like every Saturday in October or something, because you do the one time and there's always going to be some people, like the thing a few weeks at Cherry. I mean, I would have loved to have done that, but I was away that Saturday. So, if you give people, a bunch of options, at least they feel like they can hit one of those or something.
Right.
So
Okay.
Lori, if you find that you are going to walk Pear Tree with Joanne, I'm happy to go too. Just let me know what you ladies decide, and I'm happy to.
Okay, that would be great. And if you're going to be stocking the book thing, if you're going to be down there, let me know and I can meet you down there and we can
Sure.
tootle around Pear Tree as well, especially the back section.
Yeah.
I mean, weed. I'm sorry, I meant weed. Weed, yeah.
Sure.
The back section's really bad.
One last correspondence with Charles. He said, I'd have to look. I believe that was the main price to perform all the work involved for the initial cleanup per section. Then I had a rough estimate within each proposal's notes with a per visit price as necessary to maintain the areas.
Can you send us what you just said? Because that was a lot. Can you just take a picture of the email or whatever you said, and then I can put it in the minutes?
Okay.
That seems fair, because it seems like it's going to be a lot of work to do what he's going to do, and we all know it's going to grow back. So at least that way, for planning purposes for next year, because you're not going to need maintenance this year, you can plan on what it would cost to have him come back and keep an eye, pull any babies that are coming up, and
Laura, are we going to be putting down? Are we putting down the black garbage bags or whatever you call it, and then cutting out holes and sticking new plants in there? No. And tell me why not. I don't know, but I know people were throwing that around at one meeting. Is that because we don't need to try and suffocate the regrowth of this?
Are you talking about where the
behind the garden? I'm talking about behind the gardens.
Oh, behind the gardens.
Yeah. Oktoberfest. There you go. I'll bring beers. 10 to 12 work, and then I'm bringing you a Heineken. Love it.
I guess we have to see how much we clear out and how much gets to stay, how much leaf litter there is, because you want leaf litter. That breaks down and it enriches the soil.
Okay, well, I'll need your guidance on that.
Okay.
For sure. And anybody else's.
I think it's going to be plenty of work just to clear it, and then we could decide post-October how we want to go forward. I killed grass in my yard in February. The snow had melted. I put down cardboard. I let it snow and everything on top of it. The cardboard started to disintegrate, and I planted bee balm on top of it. And I have no grass. So you can do it, and you can do it in the winter.
Do you have no grass?
No, just in this one area near my vegetables. I just wanted to get some flowers in there that would attract bees.
Laura showed me her house during No Mow May, and I love the idea of it because it was I'm not allowed to say that?
No, but it was a nightmare. I mean,
No,
the
but it was
like 2 feet high.
I had read a thing in somewhere about, I was just about to start to like do the cleanup work, and I had read, the pollinators are still out there. And then I saw her the next day, and you were telling me about the No Mow May, and that was interesting, right? So you let the pollinators go, but you have to endure the neighbors giving you the stink eye because your grass is so high.
Yeah, I read about that. I just don't have it in me. Just don't have it in me.
I did do it in the front yard. Just
Yeah. Your neighbors on near water would take you out, probably.
Yeah.
Ladies, it's 5:15. Do we want to adjourn this meeting?
I think so. We covered a lot.
Yeah.
Can you confirm our next date? Do you have that in front of you, Pam? Our next meeting? Okay, so we can look it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've got the list of dates.
Okay, no problem. So I make a motion to adjourn. You need a motion, Mary Louise?
Yes.
Okay, Patty makes a motion to adjourn. You need a second.
Again. Approved. Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Yep.
good seeing you, ladies.
Yeah, good
Thank
seeing
you.
you. Thanks,
Okay.
Laura. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Have a good weekend, Pam.
Thank you.
Bye.